It is to the eternal shame of successive governments that there is a group of United Kingdom citizens living in Canada, Australia, South Africa, the West Indies, and other far-flung places who are entitled to United Kingdom pensions but have seen those pensions frozen.
500,000 UK pensioners living overseas don't receive an increase to their UK state pension with the value frozen when they leave the UK or when their pensions first drawn.
And the Government has not committed to uplifting those pensions, at the very least for the duration of the COVID pandemic. This has been a hugely difficult time for many of them in many different countries.
For the estimated 60,000 veterans who have had their pensions frozen, many of whom are living in poverty and reliant on family handouts.
I recently had the pleasure of meeting Peter Duffy, a British 94-year-old who's lived in Canada since 1980, who also served this country as a World War II pilot. Peter's British pals, who live just 500 metres away over the border in the US, get full state pension. However, Peter only gets £46.90 a week living in Canada.
A pension should be paid at the UK rate wherever a veteran or any pensioner lives in the world.
How can it be right that something that is so iniquitous and unjust continues to persist and is discriminatory in respect of which countries people emigrate to?
The recent inquiry by the All-Party Parliamentary Group on Frozen British Pensions found 1 in 2 frozen pensioners receive a UK pension of £65 per week or less.
That dignity in retirement should exist for all UK pensioners, regardless of where they live, and that's a principle.
As retired women who now live in countries where their UK state pensions are frozen. Isn't this the greatest unfairness of all?
Discuss the case of Monica Phillips, who emigrated to the UK in 1959. And after 37 years working here as a civil servant, she returned to Antigua to care for her mother, at which point her pension was frozen.
Pensioners like Monica came to the UK at the invitation of the British government, but they're now being penalised for returning to their country of birth, sometimes not through their own choice.
Last week, some of us met virtually with Canadian MPs and their Minister for Seniors. And he told us that a proposal had been put 3 months ago to the British government, which would provide some pension justice for the 125,000 British pensioners living in Canada.
In November, the Government of Canada wrote to the British government offering a reciprocal social security agreement. Has the UK responded to that letter? And if not, what message does she think it sends from global Britain about its attitude towards UK pensioners who live in poverty overseas?
How is it consistent with global Britain asking people to work around the world, and now with 150 countries, if they retire, their pensions frozen? It's just absolutely unfair and incompatible with being an international nation like we claim.
The UK government could choose to end this injustice at any time. All that it would take to put a stop to the frozen pensions policy is domestic legislation, unilaterally uprating the pensions of UK pensioners in countries that the UK has no reciprocal pension agreement with. The government does not take these steps as it insists it will only uprate pensions through such reciprocal agreements. This would be an almost reasonable position, if not for the fact that the government balks at the opportunity when offered new reciprocal agreements.
It's high time that the government held up their end of the bargain and gave all pensioners the pensions they are entitled to.